What is up, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of the 2Game Podcast. We are here with the finale for the Acolyte, episode number 8. So if you have not watched the season finale or actually any of the other episodes, this is your last chance because we're going to be talking about anything and everything in episode 8 and before that. So without further ado, let's just jump into this shit because lots to say. Lots to say.
Do you want to start with the good, the bad, or the ugly?
Let's start with the good. I'm curious to know what's the good from
The
you.
good. Okay.
The good.
The good. Obviously, the lightsaber duel I enjoyed in this. I know you said that you were.
So I watched it twice. I watched the finale again today. I'm a little bit more positive on it.
Okay. I enjoyed it. And did you notice that Saul possibly used a forbidden lightsaber technique?
Which one was that?
Where you turn your saber off and then reignite it immediately afterwards, so that way theirs passes through.
Is that forbidden?
It is. Because it doesn't give your opponent a chance to defend, because you turn your saber off to go around theirs.
Oh.
That's a forbidden technique.
Wow. It'd been interesting if they would actually, explain some of that and, dive into that. That'd been interesting, honestly.
Yep.
More interesting than anything else that we've gotten in this series.
Yep. So, yeah, Saul fought dirty.
In episode 5, it really seemed like he was restraining himself to not do that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So he's always been. I'm not gonna say always been. Okay,
he's been. Let me
take that back. He's been on the edge a couple of times in this series.
Yeah, which is the point of the series.
Is it though?
Is it? Said was to be the point of the series.
It was intended.
All right. So Saul and Chimere's lightsaber fight.
Choreography, good.
Always.
While we're talking about
that's one thing this series has done well is the fight choreography.
I agree. That is a huge positive. Might be the best thing about. I'll tell you that back. It is the best thing about the entire series. Let me rephrase what I was going to say. It is the best. So yeah, initially I did not like. It wasn't that I didn't like it. It was just it seemed like Chimere, the Stranger, whoever the fuck you. I was just thinking today that we haven't heard the Chimere name since episode 4.
Since he was revealed to be the Sith something.
Dun 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 dun.
Right. He's been the Stranger ever since. We've continued to call him Chimere because that was what his pseudo name was, I guess, or whatever you want to call it.
Which is funny because Osha never asked him what his name is ever.
No, she has no idea what his name is.
You're on a ship with some random dude. The dude was slinging his dick all the way around you, and you didn't ask him what his name was. I mean, I'm not trying to judge or anything, but I'm judging. I'm judging what kind of character you are. But anyways, ADD moment. Fight choreography was great. Originally, I wasn't a fan of it because it seemed like Chimere's fighting style changed between episode 5 and then this one.
But I think it did.
You think it did?
Well, I think he wasn't right. I mean, you said the whole episode 5 was different, and because he was on the offensive in the beginning of it. And then he was more of defensive for the second half of episode 5.
I'd have to rewatch episode 5. It seems like he was very chaotic in this one, where it seemed like in episode 5, he was more controlled, even with being aggressive. I have to rewatch it.
He was definitely more chaotic in 8. He was sporadic in 5. And his fight style, and I wrote that down in previous notes from episode 5, was that he was a very chaotic creature, and that's why he was so hard to defend against, was because none of his fighting made sense. because
Maybe that's the point.
He was balls to the wall. Like, I don't care if you hit me because I'm gonna get you.
So you may not remember this in the episode, and it's gonna be kind of hard to explain, but it's just what I thought of originally. I'm not saying this is the right thing, but this is just where my mind went. So he's fighting Saul, and he does like I think it's right after he throws the lightsabers and Saul fucking force Kamehameha waves,
yes,
which was pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie, pretty cool sequence there. And then he starts running after him, but he does like this thing where he like tilts his head back and has like the lightsaber. Do you know those fucking like T-Rex costumes that people wear in like Halloween and shit?
Yes, I did not notice this.
To me, just when he kicks his head back, I just thought about the costume for the T-Rex. I was like, and it's all I can fucking see now.
I'm gonna have to go back and watch it now.
Just he's just like, ah. It was just weird. It was weird. It was funny. I don't know. But yes, I am much higher on the fight this second time around. The little jump from the bridge, hidden Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, little moment right there.
Mm-hmm.
And then originally I told you Liu Kang's bicycle kick,
and then I corrected you.
Pretty fucking. You corrected me. It was from the Matrix. Either way, fucking dope. I liked it. All for it.
Mm-hmm.
And I liked the combination in this series of the kung fu plus the lightsaber duels.
Yes.
Pretty fucking cool.
No, that was great. I don't know. I never watched Visions, and I know they had a lot of Japanese influence in Visions with like samurai and stuff like that. So I don't know if they were trying to go with that kind of, go more of a Chinese aspect of it versus the Japanese aspect of it, or what, just to try and bring in something fresh. But yeah,
across the board, man. Fight choreography, I don't think I have much issues with that throughout the entire series. There was one, so the editing was, I haven't been a big fan of the editing in this series. It's one of my big issues, especially, I want to say it was episode 5, where it was just like every time something fucking great was happening, they would cut to something else and it was like total bullshit, like fucking Master Gamora or some shit like that.
Threw the pacing off.
Yeah. I loved the combination of May and Osha's fight. Now, I disliked the acting in that scene. It's fucking atrocious. But the actual choreography of the fight,
it got a little better.
It's atrocious.
But it has improved from the beginning.
Has it though?
The acting, May and Osha have improved since the beginning. And I can't believe I'm going to say this. Gamora, at the end of this episode, had better acting than she has through this entire series.
I will agree. It's at the very end of this episode.
Yes.
It seemed like, I don't know. Maybe it was, I don't know if it was the directing, the writing, or whatever. I don't understand the slut magic behind her just all of a sudden being a good actress. It doesn't make any sense because literally every other scene is absolute garbage. The scene where she is, do you ever watch a Supergirl TV show?
I did not.
Well, shit. The Senate guy. The
Okay.
guy from the Senate. He's Hank. I want to say his name's Hank from Supergirl series.
Okay.
He was I don't know if this is a spoiler for Supergirl. It came out like, I don't know, 5-7 years ago. But he's Martian Manhunter in Supergirl.
You're well past the threshold for spoilers in that.
So it's blatantly obvious if you watch that scene, the stark contrast in the acting between those two actors.
And I still think that's a directing thing. I mean, granted, she might just be a sucky actress, but
I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know because I don't know her anything else, so I can't compare her based upon other previous acting appearances or whatever. But I just know, going based upon the entire series and everybody's acting, the directing sucks.
I won't disagree with that. But if it was the directing, then both of them would have sucked. But his was so much better in that scene. You could see like little nuances. Like he wasn't monotone. He wasn't emotionless.
But that's what I'm saying with the directing, and specifically the directing of the Jedi. Because like Kymir, he's a good actor. He's a good character actor. But anytime you see a Jedi, aside from Saul, the acting, they're all very flat, one-dimensional, stoic people. And that's what they're trying. That's the director saying, this is how Jedi act.
Which Kymir, I think this goes back. I'm not saying he was terrible acting, and I still liked all of his stuff in this episode, but it was it pales in comparison to anything that he had done since episode 5.
I had that same note written down. Was his lines with Osha when they're boarding the ship to fly away did not compare to previous episodes.
No,
but we're getting negative. We got to go back to the positive stuff.
Oh yeah.
Positive first.
My bad. Choreography. The original point that
Gamora's acting got a little bit better. It was off by 1 second.
It was a little off. It was
off. Yeah, because I was like, that would have been a perfect transition if their legs hadn't met and then the lightsabers clashed. But it was leg, lightsaber. And I'm like, you got to do it at the same time, guys. It was off by 1 second. And that drove me insane because I was like, if they would have just 1 second earlier made that transition, that would have been a perfect cut.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So I still like it, but it could have been 1,000 times better
if it was just 1 second earlier.
Yeah. Which, guys, for once in our lives, we are mad about going 1 second earlier. Am I right? Shout out to that. Other positives with this episode. I have mixed feelings about it. If we're just talking about the sequence itself, fucking cool. Okay. Fucking cool. How it bleeds, and then when she goes after Kymir and it turns from blue to red, that was fucking cool. Like, no shit, that was a really cool moment. One of the coolest moments in the entire show.
Your issue is the continuity.
The issue is the continuity, but apparently, and you may know this, I haven't researched this at all, but the bleeding of the kyber crystals didn't really become a thing until after the prequel trilogy. Well, yeah. So it's kind of hard to, like, I get it. It wasn't a thing back then, so how am I going to be so harsh on it, you know?
And in 2016, whenever they made the bleeding a thing, it was one of those that the Sith had to, like, intently focus on the crystal and fill it with all of the dark side they had, all their rage, all their anger, all their fear, everything to try. And the kyber crystal would fight back. And like even like Vader had a hard time bleeding his crystal.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So intent is the big thing here. Whereas Osha in this did not necessarily have the intent. That said, you and I talked about this. And yes, Anakin did some fucked up shit with his blue lightsaber. Killed all the younglings. Killed everybody that was in the Separatist group. And then fought Obi-Wan and almost killed Padme. But not with lightsaber, but just in the vicinity of. And it still stayed blue.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I'm gonna play devil's advocate and say, well, his lightsaber was intact, so it was shielded with the hilt.
Correct. Okay, that was another point that a lot of people made.
It wasn't exposed. She was physically touching the crystal because her little finger was on it. All right. And yes, Anakin did all those bad things, but I don't necessarily feel like in those scenes that he was doing it in a angry, rage, hatred state of mind.
I'll agree with that.
Verse, because he was still like, the only reason why he was going to the dark side was because he loved Padme and he wanted to save her life. He did not feel like complete rage towards the Jedis. He kind of hated them, but he didn't feel complete rage towards them. The separatist movement, he was just doing his job and finishing the war. I still don't think he would have done the same thing as a Jedi, except maybe not killed as many of them because they were all unarmed.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't feel like he was like totally enraged, hatred, whatever. Whereas Osha, in this scene, she finds out Saul killed her mom and has been lying to her for the last 16 years. And she's just at that point where she just flips and is just filled with rage and hatred. Physically touching a crystal.
Yeah. Those are kind of all the points that have kind of strayed me away from disliking that scene.
Yeah.
So I still like it. I think they could have... The thing with this show is, I know we're still talking positives, but the thing with this show is they don't do any legwork before something cool happens. So, like, that scene just doesn't fucking mean anything in the grand scheme of things. We don't give a shit about Osha or May or Saul or any of that. So it's hard to really have any type of emotion towards that scene other than, yeah, I mean, visually it looked fucking cool, but that's really it. Surface level, it just looked cool.
Yeah.
And that's just a huge issue with the series as a whole. The thing with Anakin, I'll kind of bounce off of that. I don't think really Anakin, I know he's in the dark side beforehand, and I could be completely off bases with this. I don't know. I don't feel like it was the moment that he sees that Obi-Wan turned Padme against him, in his perspective.
Yeah.
That's when I feel like he went to the dark side, like officially.
That's fair.
And that was the first time that we've seen him actually use rage and all that. Yeah. So, and then also you made the point that it wouldn't look cool with red on fire.
That was the other thing, and that was the same reason why Luke had a green lightsaber in Return, was because blue did not show up very well in the new Death Star.
Mm-hmm. Interesting little tidbits there, you know?
Yeah. All right. Honestly, I kind of enjoyed. I thought Osha's force choking scene against Saul, that was probably the most emotional scene in this series.
Her acting killed it, man.
I'm talking about Saul, and the fact that
Saul. Okay. Yes.
I'm talking about Saul sitting there getting choked. He knows she's turning, and he just looks her in the eye and go, "It's okay."
So I have a problem with that particular scene.
Okay.
Him saying it's okay. I don't feel like, if you are like, Saul has, the second that he saw those damn twins, he has been like weirdly attached to them. Okay. It's to the point where he is obsessed with them, with one of them being his Padawan. So we have been led to believe that he cares very deeply about Osha, and in particular. And he wants her to be a Jedi and all these things, right? So in that moment, his last words, his thing to the Padawan that he loves and cares very deeply for, it's okay to go to the dark side. That's what I took from that scene.
Okay, but we're gonna do a callback. Think episode 7.
Okay, yeah, okay.
Not movie 7.
Oh, I remember very little of the prequel trilogy. The sequel trilogy there, sir.
All right. Kylo Ren on the bridge with Han Solo. Same exact scene. Same exact line. Han Solo did the same exact thing, said, "It's okay." And then Kylo Ren guts his own dad and throws him off the bridge.
Interesting. Okay. All right.
Okay. I think that was a callback.
This doesn't prove my point whatsoever, but I will make a case to the fact that that scene was so much better than what we got in this one.
But I'm saying it's probably a callback because Saul knows that there's nothing he's going to say at that moment that's going to stop her. And him showing her acceptance in the situation is going to plague her in the future. If there is a future.
Hopefully not.
So, but I think that's what they're gunning for, is they're going to play that scene as a memory in her head, a flashback over and over again, something that eventually just drives her to make a decision.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm a little bit more lenient on the scene. I don't know. I felt like they could have done better with it personally. Let's stop talking positives. Okay, let's jump into negatives. I want to be negative for a little bit.
You want to do negative, or you want to do the uglies?
Do the what?
The uglies.
They're one and the same for me.
Okay, let's go. Let me start this off with the first thing in this fucking episode. I'm sorry, the second thing in this episode. Fucking Basil.
What was his fucking point?
What is the point of Basil? So
he has never served a purpose.
No, he this episode I don't understand. He just humped May's leg and kicked her or stomped on her foot, and then tattled on her so Saul would catch her. And then in this episode, he prevents Saul from catching her.
Yes. Which, by the way, the asteroid field thing with the the ring.
That was good chasing. That was a good chasing.
That was pretty fucking cool. I like that.
Yeah, okay, I missed that part, but yes, that was written down. That was a good chasing.
Like $20 million of that $180 million budget went into that one scene.
Right.
That shit looked fucking great.
It served no purpose either, because they still ended up on the planet that they were going to in the first place.
You're right. But that's neither here nor there. Sorry, it's not about the destination. It's about the journey to the destination, okay? Like, you don't see her, like, fucking with her hand a little bit over there. Like, right. You are taller than this. You can see.
All right. Next bad thing. They make another motion sickness joke with Gamora.
Yeah. It's my head.
I have to wonder, because I've never heard a joke like this aside from them saying that Obi-Wan doesn't like flying. Is this like an inside joke between Gamora and Leslie, whatever her name is, the director of this show?
Mm-hmm.
Because they're married, and it's just like, hey, you know how you always get motion sick? Let's put this in the show.
Let's put it in the show. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's just something that those two can laugh at.
Yeah, it's stupid because it's like they don't really ever expand on that at all. I'm not saying I want it to be expanded upon, but if you're going to put it in the fucking show.
Yeah, they never even see her. Like, it's not like she gets off the ship and she immediately buckles over and throws up or something like that. Or that she's a little dizzy when she's stepping off. They never expand upon it. It's just something that they always say in passing. Oh, I heard you flew back. How's your stomach feeling? It's not my stomach, it's my head.
I fucking hate her character so much. God, do I hate it. It's like every time she's on screen, oh my God, can I just play on my phone for a little bit? Do I have to watch this?
Right.
What did you think about the very first scene? They're back in the little cave, and she has the helmet on, and she does almost kind of like what the witches do, where like she invades Chimera's mind or some shit.
Was she invading his mind?
His eyes turned black. That was the only thing.
Well, okay, I did not put that connection together. But
I didn't catch it until the second time that I watched it. She
was having a premonition of the future because she saw what she thought was May killing Saul. Which ended up being her.
Plot twist, it was you, bitch, because you're the same person.
I straight up was like, whenever she said that, I'm like, no, that's going to be you in about 30 minutes. Mm-hmm. So that happened. I did not put together, I thought somebody else was involved. And then that somebody else shows up on the screen 5 minutes later.
True. If that is the case, they didn't expand upon that whatsoever, and
it's just par for the course. They don't expand upon anything. They don't explain anything. It's just something looks cool. Let's do it, and maybe we'll retcon it next season.
Which you've already mentioned it, so we got to talk about it.
Okay.
Darth Plagueis. I fucking mentioned this episodes ago. I said, they better not fucking put Plagueis in this show because I'm going to be pissed off if that's how they do it. Okay? So I have two opinions on this scene. All right?
Okay.
One is the actual scene itself and the implications of what this means in the Acolyte series. And the other is design-wise. Design-wise, pretty fucking cool. Not gonna lie, looks cool. Looks cool.
Yep, they designed him well. The second you see him, you immediately know who it is. You don't go, well, who's that guy? Like, you know, if you've ever looked into anything Star Wars, you're like, that's Plagueis.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, y'all just hear me out. The design of him with just the face and the little fucking hand and shit, pretty good. Pretty good. They spent a lot of money on that. I'm just going to tell you that right now.
That was another $20 million.
Now, the implications and how the overall scene itself was. Did not like the scene.
Okay.
Did not like the implications for it.
Delve further.
So, I haven't watched or read. I haven't watched. Shit, let me recorrect myself. I haven't read his book or any of that Legends shit. So, this is purely based on little to no knowledge. Okay.
Which is fair because, strictly speaking, Legends is not canon.
Correct.
So, really, the only thing we know about Darth Plagueis is that he was known as Plagueis the Wise, and he was very strong, and he can manipulate the Force to bring about life.
Correct. So, this is all based off episode 3 of the prequel trilogy.
Yes.
I have this. If someone can manipulate the Force to create life or attempt to do it, which we've kind of learned that's the Force created Anakin in response to Plagueis fucking with the Force in a way. Okay. I would expect him to be pretty fucking powerful. Okay. Imposing, if you will. The fact that he is lurking in the shadows, kind of just crawling behind a fucking the cave wall to sneak on fucking Chimere and Osha doesn't tell me that he imposes anything. There's no strength there with him fucking hiding in the shadows.
So, but this also is 100 years before the events.
True.
Let's say 92 years because Anakin was 8, right?
I think they said it was 87 years. I could be wrong.
They say everyone says this takes place 100 years before Episode 1. Episode 1 was at 32 BBY. This is
100 years. 100 years before the Empire.
Is it 100 years before the Empire?
I'm getting this information from Star Wars Theory. Okay, so little disclaimer there.
But
I'm not that hell bent on figuring it out.
Yeah. So, but in any case, everything that I'm seeing shows because every time I look up anything, it says this series takes place in 132 BBY. 100 exactly 100 years before episode, which means that if you follow Legends and the estimated birthday or birth year of Plagueis is only 15 years old in this series.
Allegedly, because Ki-Adi-Mundi is also in this show.
Yes. And that's the other thing, is this is all based upon Legends material. That's not concrete. That's not canon. They can readjust Plagueis' birthday and make him older. But in any case, he's still got almost 10 decades worth to grow up and develop his power to be at that point where he's finally able to manipulate the Force, and the Force is like, whoa, let's make a little Anakin to counteract. And what if this is the catalyst of him going, maybe he saw those witches, they made May and Osha, and he's like, yo, Chimere, little apprentice man, why don't you pull them to this side so I can kind of study them up close and kind of figure out how the fuck that happened? And then I can start doing that myself.
So there's two sides to this from what I've heard from other fans. One, fans complain that, okay, so this really takes away from Plagueis a lot because now the witches just did it and he's just basically just copying them. So he's just a copycat at that point. Okay. The other side of it is he was the one that showed them how to do it, and that was the testing phase for manipulating the Force. But if that's the case, then I would think the Force would have
jumped into action a little bit sooner.
Exactly. So that would be my only rebuttal against it.
Well, so and it kind of made it seem like because like you go episode 3 where he tells Anakin that Plagueis could do this, and then after he turns Anakin, then he kind of backpedals and goes, "Well, he was really close, but he never quite got there."
Mm-hmm.
So really, Plagueis never was able to create life. If you go based upon what Palpatine says. He said he did, and then he backpedaled and said, he never quite figured it out. He was almost there, but you and we can figure it out.
I'm not going to lie. Up until this series, I always took that as him lying.
Palpatine lying that
yes.
he didn't get there?
Yeah, that, no, like he was just lying about the entire story.
Right.
I don't remember him saying, but he never really got there. I don't remember that scene, that line in particular. But when he was saying, yeah, he could create life, like I always felt like that was him playing into the desires of Anakin and just lying.
Yeah.
Like Plagueis was never actually able to do that. That's what I took from. Now, again, I haven't read any fucking books, legends, regardless. Okay, this is strictly just based on that one particular scene where he gets fucking mentioned. And me being 15 years old when I fucking watched that movie the first time.
Right.
I just always took it as him lying about that entire thing. I could be wrong.
Well, yeah. We'll see. Maybe.
So yeah, the writing, the acting, all that. Look, episode 5 was a turning point in the series for me. I thought it got better, but I still wouldn't say it's a good series whatsoever. It's just for everything that they did right, they would do 2 things wrong. 2 to 3 things wrong. They do something fucking cool. Kyber crystal looks cool. Okay, yeah, well, that'd have been even cooler if you'd, fucking set that shit up. Maybe like last episode or a couple episodes ago, something like that, So, I guess the other negatives would be just, I don't know, it's nothing different than from the past episodes, to be honest with you. It's just the story just fucking sucks.
Okay.
It's just not written at all. Well,
why can't May go with Osha and Chimera?
Why do they resort to the childish writing of, well, it's just mind wiper? Like, come the fuck on. Up,
the dark side of the Force can do the Men in Black light thingy.
That's exactly what I thought. That's exactly what I thought. People that weren't born in the 90s probably didn't think about that.
Right. And this goes back to, I need somebody to write down a list of things that the Force can do. Because at this point, it's just a way to fix plot holes.
Mm-hmm. They're introducing new elements. And that's the thing with going back and telling stories before something that's already been made. Mm-hmm. You're having to work within the confines. It's almost kind of like if Dragon Ball Z, we started at like the Cell Saga. It's really difficult to go back and make that super interesting because you can't showcase. You've already seen them at their most power,
right?
So you can't show anything above that, and that's kind of what the show is really struggling to do. They're showing us shit. And I'm like, well, they never did any of that ever in the other 9 movies. So like you said, we need a guide on what can you do and what can you not do.
And then as far as the way the story progressed, it was all very predictable.
We predicted what would happen, fucking 5 episodes ago?
We knew.
To the T.
Yeah, we knew that Osha was going to turn and May was going to turn. Granted, we didn't call the mind wiping thing. We knew Gamora was going to use Saul as a scapegoat and blame everything on him.
Her friend, as she called him.
Yes. He killed everyone, even though he wasn't there for at least one of them. He wasn't there for Indara's death, but it was still his fault.
Mm-hmm.
He killed him.
I'm trying to think. There was one line in this episode. It was when Osha was talking to May. May said, Saul blamed me for killing Mom, and she's
He never
like,
blamed you.
he never blamed you, but he told me to like control my emotions and not blame the people. I'm like, wait, that's him blaming her. Like that doesn't make sense.
You say you define blame, but you're not saying the word.
Right. Yeah, it's stupid shit like that, man. Like they'll say something, I'm like, huh? That makes no fucking sense.
And they finally introduced Yoda's head.
Yes, we both. I think we both said that he would show up in the finale, didn't we?
You would have to. Now,
No, like didn't we predict
we
that?
said we never said that he is gonna show up, but we just said like at some point he's gotta show up because
Correct.
you can't keep all of this shit from him. Now the big question is how did that conversation go?
Exactly. Because I feel like, look, Yoda is not some Joe Schmo off the fucking street. He's not fucking Master Tomlin over here who gets homesick, or Master Saul who sees this child and gets obsessed with her weirdly. He's not. Dude's a savage.
He's 800 years old. He's been studying as a Jedi for 700 years at this point. Like, you're not going to get
exactly.
you're not going to get anything past him.
So how does he not pick up on the fact that these Jedi were killed by not Saul?
Not Saul.
So, like, you know, but again, that just goes back to the story, the writing of the story and whatnot. There's no continuity. There's just like they made one episode. It almost feels like they made like episode 1 and they made like episode 5, and then they went back and forth and they just like, fuck, I don't know, it doesn't make sense, but let's just fucking do it.
You think they did the sequel trilogy effect on this where they just made it episode by episode and they're like, well, let's do this episode 1, and then it's like, okay, now we have to write episode 2. Where is this story going? Okay, now let's film episode 2. It's like, shit, now we need a 3. Do we still not know where this story is going yet? Let's do something.
I will say this, and I don't want this to come out across as a positive or me praising this show when I say this, okay? This is more of a complaint against the sequel trilogy more than it is to complain against...
Oh my goodness, he's going to say it. He's going to say it, and where this is going.
As poorly written as The Acolyte is, at least you can kind of see where it goes, okay? And it doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but you can fucking see it, okay?
Okay, go ahead and say you know you want to say it.
The sequel trilogy had none of that. They did episode 1, and then they said, what the fuck do we do now? And then Rian Johnson comes in there, and he's like, how can I fuck this up? And then, what's his name? J.J. Abrams comes in and goes, how can I fucking fix that fuck up? And close this series out.
He fucked up my first episode. With that episode, I gotta retcon everything back. We're gonna spend 2 hours of this 4-hour movie just redoing what he did.
So I don't want this to seem like a positive towards the Acolyte, because it's not. It's more of a negative towards the sequel trilogy. But
what Matt is saying is he likes the Acolyte more than he likes the sequel trilogy. That's what he just said.
That's not what I'm saying.
That's what he said. Everybody, comment.
Right. What the fuck are you talking about? There's no way I can word this to make it seem like this is not a positive towards the Acolyte. There's just no way I can word it, because it's so poorly written. But at least you can kind of, if I turn my brain off and kind of act like a 10-year-old, I can kind of see where the story goes. Whereas the sequel trilogy, that is not the case. But do you have anything else you want to say about episode 8 before we close out here, sir?
I think that's it. My question is to you, do you want a season 2? Or I'm sorry.
Nay.
Would you, if they made a season 2, are we watching?
Unfortunately, it would be a yes. And it's not because I like it. We're content creators. So I'll just leave it at that.
After how the last half of this season has gone, like I said, in the very first review of this show, every TV show for the most part starts off rocky.
Mm-hmm.
And then hopefully it'll develop by the end of that season and it'll get better afterwards. This show has fallen into that theory. It got better halfway through. It improved upon itself. It is slowly fixing the mistakes it made in the beginning.
I wish. Trying to think how I want to word this. I agree that it got better about halfway. I want Leslie Headland and the writers and all them to really do their research. And I'm not talking about the research of lore and stuff like that, because I can overlook some lore shit and some continuity issues if the story is well written and the characters are compelling. I think that's the thing that we've always said. Like, I can look past some shit if I at least give a shit about what's happening in the show. I would like for them to go in, read the reviews of fans that...
Not spam reviews.
Not those, but like ones that offer constructive criticism. And they look at it and they say, okay, guys, we have to do a better job with writing. We have to do a better job with expanding on these elements with Osha and May. Hey, Osha and May actress, you might want to get a fucking acting coach, okay? Just saying.
Also Gamora.
And Gamora, okay? That'd be a tough conversation to have, but we need to fucking have it.
Honey, I just want you to know, you suck.
Hey, so about season 2. Two choices. You're
getting recast.
You're either gonna die off screen, or you're gonna get an acting coach. One of the two. And like, they just look at some of the issues, and then they just improve on that with season 2. If they improved in just the writing and the characters, like I said, I can overlook the lore shit and the continuity issues.
I also want them to stop trying to make the publicity so edgy.
Explain.
I think that was a big deterrent in this series for a lot of people stepping into it, was the build up to this series. And it didn't even involve the series. It was all of the directors and producers and actors and actresses trying to make it woke into it. And I think that created a lot of the negativity towards this to start with. I mean, granted, the actual production of the show was horrible, but I think that caused a lot of the spam hate. And if they would not have gone that route, it would have been better. Or it would have not gotten so much hate up front. People would have given it a chance.
I'd agree with that. I'd agree with that.
And like, because like, you watch the show and you don't. I did not pick up on any of that wokeness in the show necessarily. There was, one-liners or whatever else that, they introduced certain things, but overall it was just like, okay, whatever. Oh, look, we have a character that is gay or lesbian or whatever, or trans squirrel. That was whatever. That's not a big deal. We can have that in a show. It's not that big of a deal, but the fact that they were advertising the show as the gayest Star Wars show in history and stuff.
Didn't really get that.
I didn't get that vibe in this show, and it didn't need to be said to try and bring in whatever crowd you were trying to bring into this show or make angry whoever you were trying to make angry. I think just make a Star Wars show for Star Wars people. Star Wars
I
people
agree.
can fit into any envelope on this in the spectrum. You don't need to advertise, or not even advertise. You don't need to really push that agenda because that agenda is already filled into the gaps there.
I will agree with that. I will agree with that.
So I want to see a season 2. I do, because where this series ended or the season ended, it's raised some interesting questions, and it shows the potential of actually showing that series from the dark side. Now that we have Osha and Kymir as main characters together, we can see that aspect that we were promised in the beginning.
You know, there are good ideas in this show. Like we've said, there is some good shit here. The fight choreography, I don't know where you came up with that idea, but it was a fucking great idea.
It was
a great idea. Some of the asteroid field, that was fucking cool. Nick will say it doesn't make any sense. He also says the same thing about the fucking lightsaber duel in episode 3. So we can't really take his opinion on that, okay, guys?
I didn't say it was cool. I just said it didn't make sense because it was like it was just like the casino scene in episode 8. It made no sense. It didn't need to be there. It didn't need to exist.
Hold up. Sorry.
They ended up right where they began. The whole episode 8, you ended up right where you began. Nothing got accomplished. Everybody failed. You made no ground.
So, wow, I am defending the Acolyte twice on this fucking episode and trashing the sequel trilogy. Sorry, you best not compare that scene to this scene. This was way better than the casino scene in episode 8. Way better. Light years better. Pun intended. Light years better.
That Star Wars has failed at when it comes to their television series after Mandalorian.
Season 2?
After Mandalorian season 2. That's something that just Star Wars has failed at completely through the entire sequel trilogy. Aside from developing Rey, kind of, everybody else stayed the same.
Rogue One was the best thing that they've done.
Yeah. Now, you haven't watched Andor yet. Andor is a slow burn, but it's a good show.
Yeah, it's coming up soon.
Yeah,
it's coming up.
It's. I'm telling you, it is a slow burn. I've been watching it for 2 weeks now. I still have like 2 or 3 episodes left. It's not something you can sit there and just binge. You got to take it episode by episode and take breaks in between.
Yeah, man. I don't give a shit if it's a female protagonist, female antagonist. I don't care if it's gay, lesbian, whatever the fuck. Okay, I want compelling characters, and I've mentioned this on a couple of reviews, but Twisters, I went and saw that movie. Okay, Daisy Edgar Jones, I think that's her name. The chick that plays in the movie, she played in she's the actress in that Where the Crawdads Sing. I think that was the name of it. Yeah, that's her.
That was a really good movie. I just watched it with Candace a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, it was a pretty solid movie.
Yeah, I like that movie.
They created a great female protagonist character. And if you want to go based off of the cliche that, hey, I want a strong female character that doesn't depend on males and having to be rescued by the male and shit like that, that's your fucking movie right there. Twisters. They created a fucking fantastic female character, okay? And I've been bragging about that character on both reviews that I did for Twisters. And anybody that I talk to, I will tell them that. I'm like, she was my favorite character in the fucking movie. Next to Glenn Powell, who is a savage. And he's sexy. But that's neither here nor there.
Was that the cowboy?
That's the cowboy.
Okay.
But yeah, guys, I want good characters. I want a good story. That's all I give a shit about. All the in between.
if they make a season 2, if we work on these things, we work on character development, we work on a cohesive story, and we keep pacing, everything else is fine.
Mm-hmm.
It's the, well, what do you call it? It's the pre-production that needs work.
Yes. The before the scenes.
Yes.
Before and behind, whichever. Yeah, no, I'm 100% in agreement with you on that one, sir. So yeah, I wouldn't be pissed off about season 2, but I also would not be upset if this is where it ended. Either.
I won't be upset. I will be a little disappointed with the way this series ended, or the season ended, that we don't get to see
the conclusion.
Yeah, a conclusion. Give me some form of closure.
Mm-hmm.
Don't leave me wishing I could have seen the end.
The Acolyte movie.
Hey, fuck, give me a movie. It's just like whenever they ended Terminator Sarah Connor Chronicles on that cliffhanger. I'm just like, fuck you guys. Why'd you cancel it right now? Give me a movie. Let's wrap this up in 2 hours and I will be happy.
Right? Give me closure.
That's all I need. I need some closure. If you want to do a single off movie, wrap it up, cool. If you want to give me a second season, cool. I need something though.
I agree. Well, guys, let us know in the comments below what you think about episode 8 or the entire series or season in this case. But that's going to be it from us.
Solid 6.5 season. 6.5. That's not good. That's not bad.
I'm going to go with a 5 out of 10, sir.
5 out of 10?
5 out of 10. Like, I'm okay never watching this show again. Unless, obviously, if season 2 comes up, I'm going to have to rewatch this motherfucker.
See,
if I go the rest of my life never seeing it again, I won't be upset.
See, that's where my 7 is. My 7 is I can watch it again. Anything below 7, not worth going back to.
6 would be like,
but see, I'm not going to go back to watch a bad thing, or a mediocre thing, or a par for the course thing. I'm going to go back for a good. I've seen it once. I'm happy with it. I'm not happy with it. I've seen it once. Don't have to see it again. It kept me entertained enough to keep me watching the show until it finished.
5.5. Final offer. And I'm only giving it an additional 0.5 because of the dope choreography. But then I'm gonna deduct 0.2 because they fucked up on that transition in the last episode.
By half a second. They even half of a second.
5.3. That is my final score.
But then it had the dope chase scene where she's like, "It's too big. He won't get in." She just busts through that motherfucker.
Yup. Well, guys, we will catch y'all next time on another episode. Laters.